My name is Tina. Most of you know that already. I'm coming here tonight to make a short video about balance. I wish my hair could balance itself out as well. So, hello and happy Sunday evening. Once again, I forget to turn my phone off. Huh. It's my notification that I've gone live on YouTube. Thank you very much, YouTube. I'm aware of that. So, hello and happy Sunday. I want to talk very briefly about what's going on in your reality. And your reality would be your physical life, your physical being, your physical relationship with self and others. But it's not just simply physical anymore, it's way beyond physical. Now, sometimes, and the way I'm seeing people post or talk about these solar storms and coronal mass ejections, solar flares, all of this stuff. There's something that I want to make sure that you know and that you understand. And that is, of course, when we have coronal mass ejections, when we have solar storms, yes, those are changing and altering your body to the crystalline form and really stretching us and pulling us and inviting us into another direction. And that is that we are becoming multidimensional while still being in a physical body. Because if you think about the death process, after you leave planet Earth, you're multidimensional, right? You're hanging out in all the other dimensions from the fourth on up to as high as you would like to play in. But you're no longer in the third. But what is going on now is you are in the third dimension, but you're experiencing these magnificent higher realms as well. And so while when we have a solar storm and when we have this heightened solar energy, yes, we're getting downloads. Yes, our DNA is being altered. But this is not like an every once in a while thing. Like this is only happening to you during a solar storm, or you're only getting new information, new wisdom, and new clarity while there's a solar storm, or when a flare has hit the earth, or when a coronal mass ejection has shown up and hit the earth. So people are in this state of knowing that these things are changing us, body, mind, and spirit, and even on a biological level, we are being changed, we are being altered into a crystalline form through these things that are happening on a solar level. If you've not been to my lives before, I know that there are thousands of people that go live just to interact and say, what's up? What's your favorite color? Are you married? Are you single? Where do you live? That's never the reason why I go live. And so yeah, exactly. If you find this weird, the subject that many people find fascinating, it's so simply not for you. Just click off or scroll on by. There are many of hundreds of thousands of people that realize the changes in this solar cycle are changing the human body, and they're changing the body, mind, and spirit connection as well. So, while there are a group of people that believe in the midst of a solar storm, or while something that's solar is happening, that you are changing in that moment, or you're having experiences that are a little wild in that moment. Yes, that's true. But in this particular solar cycle, even when we're not having a solar storm, even when there's nothing crazy going on, I'm not going to stop. Just go somewhere else. This is crazy. None of you trolls show up when I go live on my computer. It only happens on my phone. I'm not here to talk about what's up or whether I'm single or any other this stuff. I'm here to talk about the solar cycle that we're in, the unusual things that are happening, and our ability to stay centered and our ability to stay balanced and make balanced decisions. That's what I'm here to talk about. If that doesn't interest you, just go somewhere else. There are hundreds of thousands of people live on YouTube right now that'll be happy to interact with you about your singlehood or whatever else you have going on in your life. So the solar the solar energy and the energy in general that's coming from the sun is different, right? So we're not just experiencing unusual things once we're in a solar storm, once the radiation is higher, and things like that. Right now, that's not how it's working. Even if we're not in a solar storm, even if the Earth hasn't been inundated with plasma from a solar storm, the sun is not the same in this cycle that it normally is. So anytime you go outside, that's great for you to be in the sunshine. Vitamin D is in control of every facet of your body. So that's awesome. And even though that is the case, what we are receiving right now is a full spectrum of light. So even if there's no storms and no geomagnetic storming, even if there isn't a solar flare that just hit the planet, or anything like that going on, the light coming from the sun is a multidimensional, multifaceted light that is going on. So it's way different. And what we have to choose right now is to stay balanced in ourselves. When you're talking about becoming a crystalline human being, that means you'll be in the third dimension, but you'll also be experiencing the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, some of you up to the 12th dimension, and some of you even further up than that. So the thing that then becomes difficult in this, if you think about this, like we all are aware of what it's like to daydream. You're sitting there, all of a sudden, happy Sunday to you. Thank you. You're sitting there and all of a sudden you're daydreaming about the perfect job or taking a vacation. Or you're just seeing something that doesn't correspond with reality. In other words, you're seeing something in this daydream. You're just kind of wandering off into space for a moment and seeing something really beautiful. But it's not here in physical reality. And since you are in a physical body, that would be you in the third dimension in physical reality. But you are experiencing higher realities too. So maybe you're not sure how you know something. Maybe you're having prophetic dreams, or maybe you're having visions about your future. You could be having visions about the planet. You could be having visions about extraterrestrials, or even interacting with beings outside of this realm, like angelic realms or extraterrestrial beings or interdimensional beings. All of these things are possible. And so when that starts happening to you, you'll find that it can throw your equilibrium off. And this is what I want to talk about. So if you think about it in the stance of daydreaming, right? We all are aware of daydreaming. Every single person on the planet daydreams, right? We've done this, from the time we were very, very little, right? So we basically come in daydreaming. The difference is while you're in a 3D body, but experiencing these other dimensions, these higher or alternate dimensions or alternate universes, it's lasting longer than just your average daydream. So it will come through. These kind of things will come through to you mostly when you're doing something that's joyous, whatever that is to you. Could be singing, dancing, riding a bike, swimming, whatever it is. You will find that once what you thought was just your ability to daydream is now putting you out into other dimensions or alternate realities, which can then make it hard to discern, what am I seeing that perhaps is my past from this lifetime or other lifetimes? What am I seeing into that could be the future? And how do we maneuver around that? And we maneuver through that by being balanced, which is, if you look at the world's state of chaos, some of us are not doing a great job at staying balanced, right? So staying balanced between what is a dream, or a goal, or maybe even visions of things that are coming to you, have to be balanced with what's happening in your physical reality, right? Um, you also have to balance the physical world, or your personal physical world, with your personal multidimensionality. So, what I mean by that, let's say, for example, you live in an apartment building and you have this vision that your neighbor gets in a car wreck, right? You have to be balanced about that. You may not feel comfortable with going up to that other tenant and saying, hey, I saw that you're going to get in a car accident. But when you start to see things multidimensionally, it's a balance, because you don't know if that's a past situation necessarily, unless you have something to really go by. Like, let's say you're seeing something, or and you see people are dressed like the 1800s, then you'll know that that's the past. But really, there is no time. Time is a spiral. um, but unless you have something to go by, it would be hard for you to discern whether that's the past or the future. So, anybody that is, we're all in a 3D body, in a physical body on a physical planet, but many of us are daydreaming for longer, extended periods of time. So, when you start being in that multi-dimensional realm, like, okay, maybe you're looking at the fourth dimension. In the fourth dimension, you could be talking to angels, you could be talking to extraterrestrials or interdimensionals, whatever. There are hundreds of thousands of people that are doing that on this planet. I mean, you see it all over YouTube and all over other social media platforms. So just to come on someone's video, and I'm not even reading your comments anymore, but just to come on someone's video and say that's crazy, okay, then hundreds of thousands, millions of people on this planet then are crazy. So then you are being asked to balance out something. And I never ever understand when I see people doing the most insane things on live videos, and I never comment if I'm not interested. But what I'm saying to the people that are just making out their crazy comments and telling me to shut up or whatever, okay, tell that to the millions of other people that are experiencing this. And if you're not sure, look up multidimensionality. Look up the amount of people having past life visions, or having future life visions, or talking to angels, or talking to interdimensional beings, or talking to extraterrestrials. Okay. We're everywhere. So there's nothing unusual about what I'm saying at all. Part of where this comes from is the place we are within the spiral of time, but also a lot of this comes from the solar cycle we're in. Think about it this way. If you're wandering around in your house or your apartment and all you have on is a nightlight or one single candle, you're not going to see. You may see well enough to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, but you're not going to see enough to find things that you're looking for in the closet in the dark. You're not going to be able to find a book on your bookshelf in the dark, or a video in your video cabinet in the dark. Okay, so multidimensionality, and what I'm explaining is that same thing. So if you just simply have a candle or a nightlight in your house or in your apartment and you're just wandering to the bathroom and back to bed, it's no big deal. But when you're trying to accomplish something other than that, you need more light. And the part of the cycle that we're in right now, the sun is always the ultimate life giver. It is the life giver, really, of God or of source on this planet. It's the giver of life. The spectrum of light that comes from the sun is what allows us to absorb vitamin D. It allows us, our skin to change color. It affects our eyes. It affects us in every single way. Just the regular light that we spend thousands and thousands of cycles in, right? So it allows our eyes to change and our skin to change. It lightens our hair. It does all these things. But in this particular solar cycle, we can equate that to what we've been experiencing so far in this particular spiral of time is the fact that the sun was giving light, but it was giving enough light or enough illumination, just like the candle in your apartment, that was allowing you to get from the bedroom to the bathroom and back to bed. And I'm saying that is the easiest way I can explain it. The sun is a beautiful giver of light. Like I said, it changes our hair, our eyes, our skin color. It allows us to grow plants. It allows us to absorb vitamin D, all these amazing, magnificent things. The difference is now is if you went from walking around your apartment with candlelight or a simple nightlight, to now the part of the spiral in time that we're in, the lights are fully on and everything. So what does that mean? That means you are aware of more things, your psychic abilities, your clairaudience, your clairvoyance, your clairsentience, all of those things are amped up. And many thousands and thousands of people are experiencing this and they're just afraid to talk about it. So, but there are, hundreds of thousands of people on social media platforms talking about this, just like me, that are not afraid to talk about it. So I think that there's probably a million or more than a million people that are experiencing these amazing things that are not admitting it and they're not talking about it. Because if you did, or if you walk into a psychiatrist's office, of course, you would get stuck on pills or whatever, probably for the rest of your life. And that stops people from wanting to talk about these things, right? So instead of going in and laying in a psychiatrist's couch and telling them your story of maybe your psychic ability amping up or having visions of the future or past, knowing that your neighbor is going to get in a car wreck or something, right? Some people are just keeping it completely to themselves and not sharing with anybody, which explains why people on the planet feel so entirely and completely repressed in some ways. So we went from a time where the sun was able to change us, sustain amazing and beautiful source-given, God-given light on this planet, to, like I said, being in your house in candlelight, and all of a sudden we go from candlelight or a nightlight to like an FBI crime light. You're seeing so much more than you ever did. So what I'm saying is the sun is the beautiful giver of life to humanity, to animals, to the plant kingdom, to everything. But it's gone way above and beyond that. And it's doing it without any solar storms, without any plasma filaments coming from the sun, without any coronal mass ejections, without any geomagnetic storming. It's happening on a regular basis. And the reason is that Son of God, that Son of Source, that sustainer of all life, as a different light spectrum every time you open your door and walk outside, whether or not there's a geomagnetic storm or any kind of solar activity currently going on. It's a totally different light spectrum than the last, I would say, many, many hundreds of generations have experienced. Now, these things were written about in ancient texts for thousands and thousands of years in literally every culture. And in every culture, there may be a different place that was named geographically, or a different teacher, or a different person that brought this information about this time of light, or this age of light, or this golden age. It has very many different names. But with all of this going on, with the sun's light always every day, without a solar storm, or without a coronal mass ejection, or without a geomagnetic storm, it is still producing a light that the human body is not used to. So if you, we all have choices, right? So if you are not experiencing psychic abilities, premonitions, feeling other people empathically, and all these things, then that is by choice. Or it also could be the fact that you're going through it and you just don't want to talk about it. You want to deny it, because you feel like if you say things to your friends and family, they're going to think you're crazy and need a psych evaluation. Okay. And I do understand that, and everybody does understand that. That's why I'm sure that anybody talks about these things on social media initially did have a hard time doing that. But there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people talking about how their personal life has changed through their clairaudience, their clairsentience, having discussions with people, or just remotely being there. One thing that's been happening to me for the last 10 years is I would write something in my journal and then turn around and get on social media platforms and then see that what I had said about what was going on the planet was then dumped to somebody and came out in an article, or came out into a video a week or two after I don't know any other way to say this, but overheard the conversation. Let's say it that way. So I overheard a conversation about something, and most writers or most people that do videos do not get information, whether that's from their neighbor, or a psychic, or someone on YouTube, or even personal things that come through, like your psychic abilities. Rarely will that person write about it right then and there, or jump on social media immediately after a vision. They're going to take time to acclimate to what the information is. They might talk about it to somebody that they're really close with. So what I'm saying, and this has happened a multitude of times, is I will hear something that sounds absolutely nuts about the secret space program, about the presidential election, a multitude of different things. And then next thing I know, I turn around and here it comes out someone's mouth, or here comes this article saying exactly what it was. So for me personally, that helped me, because for a while I just had one friend that I could really just tell, all of these very, to me, fascinating and interesting things that came through to me. I was only able to share with one person. And that one person, in 2016, that I shared this information with, like, I don't know how I got this. I just tapped into something and I overheard this conversation, and I told him the entire thing. And so we used to call each other on the phone and read articles or things that we were both interested in. We would take turns reading to each other. And he sent me an article and said, "It's your turn to read." And I started reading it. And it was everything that I had just told him, I think a week or two prior to. Now, keep in mind, when I heard this information, saw it, and started writing it down, I even debated if I could share it with this one person. I was like, I don't know. Should I share this? Should I not? And I did decide, because this was when 2016 was when my abilities really, really, really starting to heighten and really starting to change. And I was spontaneously tapping into all sorts of things in a very non-intentional way. So I called this person. I said, yeah, this is going to sound a little bit out there, but I just I heard all of this. So then he'd sent me the article to read, and it was the same information that I told him. And then I didn't feel so weird about it. So if these kind of experiences are happening to you, find someone to talk about it too, right? Because no one ever needs to be on a video here that they don't like, or that they think is crazy or whatever. But I'm telling you, millions of people are experiencing this. Hundreds of thousands of people are talking about it. So while it is disruptive for me to read your comments that, oh, you're crazy, shut up, stop talking, whatever, I'm not going to stop talking. I'm not going to be quiet. I'm not going to shut up. And the fact that you think it's weird and crazy doesn't mean anything to me, because I've been proven, and I've been like this. I was born like this. But like I said, the last 8 to 10 years, I would say the last 10 years have amped up so incredibly that, and there have been instances where I'll go in and say, I'm really interested in this thing or this person or this situation. Like maybe it could be the election, it could be the secret space program, whatever. So I will intentionally go in and look at that and write notes and do what I do. But most of the really big, astonishing to me and to other people, things that I have made videos about have been confirmed by people with 500,000 viewers, right? And it may be information that they got from an insider, a government insider, a secret space insider. We all have the ability to tap into these things. So if it's not, interesting to you, I never dabble in anything, physically, mentally, spiritually, or even energetically, that's not fascinating to me. So I'm always surprised when there's some people showing up here with, this is crazy, please stop talking. Like, why do I need to stop talking? Why do hundreds of thousands of us need to stop talking when you're the one that finds it unusual? And there's a lot of things on social media that I find unusual or non-educational or non-exciting or just flat out boring. And all I do is just take my finger and scroll along. So it's amazing to me, some of the things that you guys will say while watching these videos. Specifically, people that are not subscribed to this channel will say, even though there are hundreds and thousands, and in most cases, millions of people talking about the same thing. So while when someone starts out with this journey, it's very difficult to speak or write or confide in anybody, nothing you say, I mean, it is distracting, but nothing you say will stop me from speaking or anything else, because I've already been speaking out. And I've been writing out or speaking out or making videos or doing this in one form or another for 10 years. So if you are someone that is not experiencing this, you, my friend, are in the minority. Now, if you are someone that is experiencing spontaneously being in a location, overhearing things, or having visions, or having psychic abilities amped up, just go on YouTube. There are hundreds of thousands of people there for you to share your experience, because anybody and everybody, when they first go through this, feels a little bit crazy. Okay. Right. Then if we're a little bit crazy, then there are millions of us that are experiencing these changes. And that means that there are millions of us that are crazy, right? Are millions of us crazy, or are we just changing and evolving and becoming consciously aware? Are we turning on the FBI crime light when we've been maneuvering our apartment by candlelight? Or by a nightlight, and all of a sudden everything is lit up. All of a sudden things become clear. Why do you think we went from having a small part of the population that was what they call conspiracy theorists to having hundreds of thousands of millions of conspiracy theorists, right? It's because they had these inklings or these messages, or they found a way to tap into this information, or someone said something to them, and they started going down different rabbit holes and looking up and seeing how much validity there was to these subjects that are considered woo-woo or crazy or conspiracy, right? So if you're a conspiracy theorist and you're crazy and I'm crazy and I'm a conspiracy theorist, then millions of us are a conspiracy theorist. And wouldn't it be much easier just to realize that the human species has turned the crime light on the world, on the government, on the perhaps Agenda 21, or any of these any of these other things that are happening, right? There are not millions of people that are crazy, but initially, if you don't recall being psychic, listen, we're all born open with all these gifts. We're clairaudient, we're clairsentient, we're born with all of these gifts. What happens is people don't listen to us, right? Our parents say, you may say, well, I don't really like this teacher. I have a bad feeling about this teacher, or I have a horrible feeling about our neighbor, about the mailman, or whatever. And what do your parents say? That's family, or that person's a doctor, or that person's a respected person, they're a teacher, whatever, right? So your parents are the ones that have the ability to take away those gifts if you allow it, right? Because most parents aren't going to say, okay, you don't like this teacher, you have a really bad feeling about him. If my kid said that, I would probably just go on the internet and do a search on that teacher, or say, tell me what you're thinking about that. How are you feeling about that, or whatever. But that's not our tendency as adults, is to tell that kid, nope, that's your doctor. Nope, that's your teacher, or that's your uncle, or that's your neighbor. They're a really nice guy, right? We're born open. We're born with all these abilities to understand and see through people and know whether they have good or bad intentions. We're born knowing all how to do these things. It comes naturally. And unless your parents get on that, this person's respected, this person is part of our community, right? So what are they doing? Well, one, that parent's not listening to you. Two, they're sweeping your gut feelings or your premonitions under the rug, right? And if that happens the whole time you're growing up, when you're a teenager and when you're in your 20s and you're starting to, as what'll happen is it'll get suppressed by your living situation if your parents don't listen to you. And those gifts will start to come back out. Could be in your 20s, could be your 30s, could be your 40s, depending on how ingrained you are with that person saying to you, don't listen to your gut feelings. Right? It's so weird. And I always say to people someone could be walking down the street and you see a business person, in a suit with a briefcase on one side of the street. And on the other side of the street, here's a homeless person, right? That's dirty and whatnot. Now, most people just use their eyes. They don't use those other senses to know when they're in danger. So you might say, oh, okay, well, I see a homeless guy, and on the other side of the street is a guy in a suit with a briefcase. So this guy kind of creeps me out. So I'm going to change sides of the sidewalk. I'm going to walk on the other side of the street, with that person that's educated and well-to-do. The crazy thing about that is we're solely making a judgment with our eyes, and we're never allowing what we feel from someone's energy field to dictate what we do in that circumstance or how we make that kind of choice. Now, if we were to close our eyes and get an energy read on that person, what I'm saying is you could be crossing the street to avoid the homeless person or the dirty person, and the other person in a suit and a briefcase could have horrible energy. They could be, anything. They could be a literal criminal. But if you're only using your eyes and not using these other clairaudience and clairsentience and clairvoyance and everything, you're constantly making decisions based on what you see, because you're a third dimensional being on a third dimensional planet in a third dimensional body, meaning physical, right? But if someone is a bad person or a criminal, let's say a lifelong criminal, they could be wearing a suit. There's a lot of criminals in our own government. So we have to start using these abilities and stop solely just looking at things with our eyes. Oh, Rennie, hello. And Scott Evans, hello to you as well. I didn't see a single person I knew earlier, and people were saying some crazy things to me, as they always do when I go live on my phone, and it actually does show up in my feed. So we are now experiencing the Son of God, the Son of Source, which is the source for all growth on planet Earth, being in a different spiral of time. So even without that, hello, Stacy, even without, as I said, the coronal mass ejection or the geomagnetic storming or the amplification of solar radiation or anything else, every single day the sun is full light, multi-spectrum. And I don't know if this only happens every 26,000 years or 52,000 years or what. I just know every day when you step out in the sun, it has amazing things for you. But it's different. It's multifaceted. It's multidimensional. And it's going to amp up all of your abilities for everything. And I think Scott is really going through this now too, because every once in a while on Facebook, I still do like live free pulling cards for people. And I know that his energy, it comes across that his life is moving very fast and in his very amped up energy. The point is, and I really did not have anything to talk about when I showed up here other than the fact that we need to balance. We need to balance our dreams with our reality. So what happens when you are in a physical body, right? You go to the other side, you're in all those dimensions all the time, but we're in a physical body and we're starting to have, we've been having, some of you just now starting to have multi-dimensional experiences, which it's not that crazy. You just think of it like daydreaming, right? So everybody essentially daydreams, but it's just essentially a longer daydream. The thing is, a lot of things will come through visions, through clairaudience, which is sounds. You could hear just words coming through. You can hear music coming through. But so there's a lot of this daydreaming, this multi-dimensional, multifaceted, not even intentional. I mean, we can do it intentionally too, but it's happening spontaneously for many people. So we have to balance what's coming in at a feeling level or at an intuitive level with what's happening in physical reality. And we also have to balance the physical world with our own personal multidimensionality. So what I can say about that, the easiest, like just to give you an example, let's say you have this dream job of working at this certain company, and let's say that your higher part of your wisdom is really inviting you to go apply for that job, okay? Because maybe you're having visions and messages about, I should get a hold of this company, I should put my resume, whatever, okay? So that's your dream part, right? These things are coming to you. This is an important thing. This feels like maybe a direction that I should offer myself in. Not spiritually, not meditating on it or praying on it or sending, vibes or juju out, but physically sending your resume to this company and getting a hold of this company, right? So when these things are bleeding through, we have to balance the dream with the physical reality of what's going on. And I use the job example because that makes total sense. Okay, so I had this idea or this hunch or this, information that comes to me about getting a hold of this company and sending them my information, sending them my resume, right? And I do that and I call and I check back with them. But let's say it's 4 months later. You have to balance the dream here with the reality, right? So even though that information came to you to get a hold of this company, put out your resume, if 4 months later it's not happening, you got to move on to something else. Like, what is really happening in your physical world combined with your multidimensionality. Now, I've done readings for hundreds of people, and hundreds of people are carrying on conversations with someone perhaps that they met a couple of times, or someone they talked to on social media a couple of times. Some of you are doing this with people you've never even met before. You're seeing them or seeing your future together, or you're having conversations, right? As I become more psychic and you become more psychic and your grandmother and your kids and everybody's abilities amp up, then we can talk to each other telepathically, right? The difficult part becomes right in this. So let's say I'm having telepathic connection with Stacy and it's going on for months and months and months and months, but at some point I have to balance out what's physically happening in my world with my personal multidimensionality. Okay, so if Stacy and I are friends and we talk several times a week, and on top of that, I can like psychically tap into, or we just automatically psychically tap into each other because we're friends. There's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying about it's so important the message comes through in reading after reading lately about balancing dreams with reality and balancing what's happening in your physical world with your multidimensionality. Okay, so if Stacy is my BFF and we're talking several times a week, but we are also able to telepathically connect, which hundreds of thousands and millions of us are doing, that's fine. The instance I'm talking about, balancing dreams with reality, is when you got that information to call that business or send your resume and it's 4 months later and you never heard from them. The other example I'll give, since we're using Stacy here, hi Stacy, is that if Stacy and I are best friends and we're talking several times a week and we're telepathically connecting, there's nothing wrong with that. But many of us, myself included, have been stuck in situations that are only happening above a third dimensional level. So let's say that Stacy and I are not best friends and we are not talking 3 or 4 times a week, but I'm constantly hearing Stacy's thoughts, or I'm constantly feeling or hearing messages, or I hear her feelings, or I feel her feelings, I can hear her thoughts, that kind of thing, but she's never talking about it in third dimensional reality. We have to take a look at our dreams versus our reality. What's happening in our physical world as well as our multidimensionality. So we want to be balanced, right? If Stacy's my best friend, if Scott is my best friend, yes, we're going to be psychically connected. We'll be energetically connected. So we'll be connected in the 5D realm, right? Where we maybe hear each other's thoughts or know when the other person is upset or something. And that's perfectly natural and perfectly normal, and hundreds of thousands of us are going through. The problem becomes that when I can feel Scott's feelings and hear Scott's thoughts, but he's never ever talking to me in physical reality. He's not texting me. He's not, chatting with me or calling me or anything. But I'm keeping my energy stuck on Scott because it's like, oh, I know what he's feeling. I know what he's thinking. I hear his thoughts. I can feel his feelings. He really likes having me as a friend, right? This is a very hard balance for those that have been in the multidimensional experience for many years now, is we can really feel what that other person feels for us, or we can even hear their thoughts, or both simultaneously. So we're getting hooked on or stuck in energetically the fact that Stacy's my best friend. Well, Stacy's not calling me, so Stacy's not my best friend, right? Or if, I'm hung up on Scott and I can say, oh, I hear his thoughts and feel his feelings and we're psychically connected, but he doesn't ever want to go out on a date, or he doesn't ever, was Scott's in Arizona. I'm just using him as an example. if he never wants to do anything in physical reality, if he doesn't want to bring this into physical reality, the balancing act for us now is to not cut off the fifth dimensional experience. Wow, 44 minutes and 44 seconds and 4 people watching, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. I know that means stable, grounded, and on the right path. What I'm saying here is correct. Like I said, I've done hundreds of readings of people who are perhaps in love with someone they've never met, or someone they carried on maybe conversation with. Some people, this is happening to people they haven't even met in physical reality. But if that person doesn't show up outside of that, then it's time to let it go, because that is not being balanced, is what I mean. So anybody that you have a friendship with or a relationship with, as your gifts, psychic abilities, empathy, clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance, as all these things are amping up, you're going to be able to feel Scott from 1,000 miles away. You're going to be able to sometimes hear his thoughts, especially when you're close with people. But what I'm saying is, it's wonderful when things come through that way. And everything that shows up in your life physically comes through multidimensionally first. Like, oh, I have a feeling I'm about to meet this amazing guy, right? Or something like that. So I'm not saying it's a very difficult balance here. That's why I'm coming to talk about this. If Scott and I have been friends for years, but he doesn't want to meet and doesn't want to date, there's no reason for me to stay stuck. So there has to be a balance, because Scott's energy may come through before I even meet Scott. So I'm not telling you that when these beautiful things come through to you about, friendship or family, lovers, any of these, kind of relationship dynamics, not to brush it off, because again, it's going to come through multidimensionally first, which means it starts in another realm outside of time and space, and you very well will connect with it earlier. Like, you can do this with anything: jobs, people, situations, places to move. You may all of a sudden just have this idea, wow, I'm going to have this house, whatever. So I'm not saying to disregard the things that trickle in multidimensional, because they start in the etheric or energetic realms before they materialize physically. What I've seen through hundreds of readings, myself included, is that thing or that person or that energy of that connection felt so amazing that, and I'm not saying I'm stuck, I'm a very well-rounded, I'm not waiting for someone to do anything. But as far as that person's energy, as far as that connection, I haven't done anything, right? So when you've put in your resume and it's been 4 months, you're not getting the job. When you put your energetic resume in with that friend or that lover or that, person on dating site, whatever it is, and it's been X amount of time and they're not responding to you, or they only want to put energy into responding in a non-physical way, you really have to decide how you're going to be balanced and how long you're going to let that person, feel your energy, because your loving energy is very helpful to people. But how long do you let someone slowly come through to you as an energy and accept that as a relationship when it's not? And you have to decide what kind of timing that is for you. But I know that there are thousands and thousands of people going through this, because I've talked to hundreds of people. And in doing these readings, there were many, many, many people who met someone and had this amazing energetic or amazing spiritual or energetic and spiritual loving friendship, psychic bond connection in the other realms, which again, start there first. But you would have to decide at one time, what is my dream, or what is this other reality, or this daydream, or this person, or this job? How long do I let it stay in the dreamscape and not show up in my reality before I decide to move my energy? How long do I weigh what's happening in my physical world with my multidimensionality? Because if someone is not choosing you, but your energy is very loving and very helpful and very supportive, they could hang out in your energy field for 20 years, right? We have to be balanced enough to say, I know things start in the energetic, spiritual space to begin with, but you really have to decide how long you're going to let it hang out in the energetic, telepathic, whatever space, and not show up at your door or send a Christmas card or ever call you. Okay. I didn't know this was coming, but I think it was the last video that I said, I very, very, very much felt in the energy, speak now or forever hold your peace. And then I had a reading today, and it was all about exactly what I'm telling you. I have not seen any more comments since Scott and Stacy. So hopefully I'm still here and I'm still live and everything is working okay. Also, it's just gone from 0 to 8 people this entire time. If anybody's interested in this BTW, I'm still walking barefoot in the middle of November, which is astounding, but I know it's not going to last much longer. And I'm doing that because it's very balancing for every cell of your organs, everything in your body. There is a site that is www.wildfreeorganic.com/store that now sells grounding shoes, and I've seen them before for $200. These are a little bit more reasonable if anyone else's intent on grounding. It's just so different when you ground. I will say, I mean, your ability to go right to sleep, your ability to not worry about anything. It's very imperative that we stay balanced, that we dream big, that we don't give a lot of credence to this external chaos going on in reality, right? Because the external chaos is not going on in reality because, oh, we have a bad president, or I don't like the way things are going, or whatever. Things have been corrupt for hundreds of thousands of years. And I can't do anything about it, and you can't do anything about it. Nothing will ever change if we don't understand the corruption. So understand that what is happening as the crime light, the FBI light, has been turned on, whereas maybe you were maneuvering in candlelight before, or we as a planet might have been maneuvering in candlelight or nightlight before. Now we're going to see everything. And the reason we're seeing it is not because the earth went to hell in a handbasket. It's been this way forever. But you and I, no one can do anything to change anything on this planet until they see what is actually going on this planet. So thank you so much for being here. I'm not going to be here for an hour. I'm going to cut it off at 54 minutes, which is my age. How appropriate. Thank you so much for being here. I made a comment about some of the nasty comments, and then all the comments stopped. So how perfect is that? Okay. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here. Much love. Bye.